The Bronx Parent Leaders Advocacy Group statement on the reopening of schools without a remote option. The Bronx Parent Leaders Advocacy Group is not opposed to the normalest possible reopening of schools in September. But given that we are still in a pandemic, the Bronx Parent Leaders Advocacy Group is opposed to the reopening of schools without a remote option for families who may need it or desire it. Once again, the mayor of New York City and the chancellor of New York City schools have taken it upon themselves to make the decision to affect the lives of 1.1 million students and their families without first speaking to those families. That is unconscionable, egregious, dismissive of the concerns of parents, and downright wrong. 60% of our students were kept home by their parents, in spite of the fact the mayor then informed parents that the schools were safe and that parents wanted their children in school for myriad reasons. Have the mayor and the chancellor spoken to these parents? Have the mayor and the chancellor addressed the concerns of these parents? Or do the mayor and the chancellor plan to browbeat and bully these parents into submission? Since the decision to reopen schools without a remote option was made without the input of these parents, the Bronx Parent Leaders Advocacy Group is concerned with four major issues regarding the September reopening without a remote option in the areas of: 1, safety and health; 2, instruction to repair learning loss; 3, parent voice; and 4, parent choice. Parents in the Bronx have no reason to trust the mayor and the chancellor, and therefore want answers to their questions and concerns.
When it comes to safety and health, parents have these questions. 1, what is the plan for social distancing and other health measures in buildings and classrooms that will include both vaccinated and unvaccinated staff? The CDC has reported 10,000 cases of coronavirus since April 30th in fully vaccinated people, and has expressed that these numbers do not reflect the full amount of vaccinated people who have contracted the virus. 2, we know that the vaccines do not prevent the contraction of the virus, although they do help people to not become mortally sick. What is the plan for testing, tracing, and quarantining to prevent major outbreaks when all students and staff will be in school? 3, what is the plan for ventilation for buildings who need that structural upgrade? Parents want to see every building properly equipped for adequate ventilation and want to be able to view and grade the schools in terms of ventilation preparedness. We know that the federal government has given money for such upgrades. We trust, but we want to verify the process. 4, what is the plan for families with members who are immunosuppressed, in which a student or a staff member contracting the disease may mean a death or extreme health problems? Should those families not have the remote option? 5, what is the plan to deal with issues of physical health and mental health, both inside the schools and within families? Will every school have adequate numbers of nurses and a mental health team and or clinic? Extra counselors and social workers are not enough. How do they work together to truly be trauma responsive? How do we address the trauma and the anxiety that parents and students may have regarding the return to school? While some may have been traumatized by the isolation of remote learning, others are traumatized by the return to socialization, knowing that we have yet to conquer this virus. What is the plan to address that? Shouldn't those families be entitled to a remote option as they work through getting reacclimated to society? Or do you think summarizing is enough to do that for every family with its magic wand?
When it comes to instruction, parents have these questions. 1, What is the plan to reduce class size so that our children can have more specialized attention and practice social distancing? 2, what is the plan for additional staffing to support the reparation of learning loss? Conversely, there are children who excel during remote learning and gained. What is the plan to keep those children enriched? What is the plan for tutoring, academic programs, after school, and on weekends? 3, while there are general ed students, students with IEPs and disabilities who did not perform well during remote learning, there are also general ed students, students with IEPs and disabilities who thrived and gained during remote learning. Should these children not have the option to continue remote learning?
When it comes to parent voice, parents are very concerned that their points of view and assessments of the situation are not respected and have these questions. 1. If parent voice does not matter, why the charade of parent leadership organizations within the DOE structure? 2. If parent voice matters and the well being of family matters, why would the mayor and the chancellor make decisions that will impact the lives of parents and students without consulting them? When the announcement was made, the chancellor had only held one of the 5 borough citywide informational sessions. How is this truly family and community engagement, empowerment, and inclusion in decision making? The Bronx will hold the last informational session on June 9th. Obviously, Mayor de Blasio assumes our parents are not educated enough for making healthy, smart decisions for New York City school reopening school year 21-22. It is an insult to Bronx parents and parents throughout the city. It is a slap in the face of parents, and it is unacceptable. 3. When did the mayor and chancellor become gods, the alpha and omega, deciding what is best for our families? 4. The mayor and the chancellor lead the public schools, but are they the public? Did the public abdicate its civil rights to participate in decisions that are made for the public? Does the principle of government of the people, by the people, and for the people not apply in public school governance paid for by taxpayers from the public?
We remind the mayor and the chancellor that the United States of America is not a dictatorship nor an autocracy, and that the concerns of parents will be heard and taken into consideration when decisions for their lives are being made, regardless of how good they think those decisions are from their point of view. Let us put the public back in public schools. When it comes to parent choice, parents have these questions. 1. When did public school parents and public school students become a monolith? And it's true that all students must learn in only one way during a pandemic that has not ended. When was that ever true, even without a pandemic? Part of the failure of the DOE is educating our kids has always been the desire to educate our kids in only one way, like sardines packed in a can. 2. Why is diversity of methodology not included in the plan for the September reopening? Doesn't diversity call for a remote option? 3, are parents no longer the first teachers, protectors, and doctors for their children that the mayor and the chancellor would decide how their children are educated, protected, and navigated health-wise during a health crisis without giving the parents a choice in the matter? 4, Bronx parent leaders believe in science and believe in medicine, but we know that science and medicine are not infallible. We know viruses mutate and our response to them changes when they mutate. What is the plan to allow parents to pull out of full in-person learning if the COVID rates increase? What is the plan for if and when parents become uncomfortable with full in-person learning? Will they then be given the remote option? Is that contingency plan in place? And what does it look like? 5, if some parents or the parents of the 60% of the students who are currently learning remotely should decide to keep their children home, what will the mayor and the chancellor do? Will they weaponize ACS against these parents? Will the DOE charge these parents with educational neglect? Parents need to know so that they can start speaking to their lawyers and prepare for a class action lawsuit if that becomes necessary. 6. The threat of evictions in September for millions of New Yorkers is real. Many families will find themselves in temporary housing, on the streets, in shelters, living with friends and family. Will the DOE facilitate the lives of these students by offering the remote option? Or will the students be forced to travel long distances to school because of their displacement? Or will they have the extra headache of trying to enroll in one or several schools during the school year, depending on their housing situations?
The Bronx Leaders Advocacy Group is inviting Mayor de Blasio and Chancellor Porter to a roundtable discussion to answer these questions and many more. The concerns and points of view of parents will be taken into consideration by the powers that be. We urge the mayor not to leave a political mess for his successor, and we urge the chancellor to stand with parents and those who do not have large bank accounts and connections to make their voices heard. We urge the mayor and the chancellor to stand with disenfranchised parents who live in underserved, under-resourced, poor communities who are mostly Black and brown and who have no voice in City Hall, in City Council, and no voice in the Department of Education. We urge the mayor and the chancellor to sit with these parents to discuss and to design together what the September reopening looks like. We urge the mayor and the chancellor to hear and respect the voices of those parents. The voices of teachers and the UFT matter. The voices of the CSA and principals matter. Parents and students may not have unions, but their voices matter just as much. We urge the candidates for mayor, Bronx Borough president, and city council to stand with parents and for a September school reopening with a remote option. We ask all education activists, all civil rights activists, all health activists, all parents, all students, all community businesses, all community stakeholders, and all education stakeholders to stand with us for a September school reopening with a remote option. The DOE must do the work and hire the staff to improve education in person and remotely instead of once again disenfranchising the most vulnerable among us. If you're viewing this and you agree with the Bronx Parent Leaders Advocacy Group's statement on the reopening of schools without the remote option, please visit the link that you see on your screen right now to show your support and sign the statement. Thank you so very much